Hello and welcome to this video. Today we're going to be talking about lean and agile and the relationship between the two. Really at a high level, we're not going to dive deep into lean at this point, but we'll cover that later in other sections. There's a direct relationship between the two and you should understand it. So this chart shows you a brief history of some influences on the agile movement and the things that have grown out of that. Like you just look at it here, the back, let me just kind of explain what's going on. The back chart, the graph, the blue graph in the back there, is the NASDAQ index for 1990 through 2002, late 2003, early 2003, sorry. So that's the NASDAQ stock index. The black dots, that is internet host growth. So the number of computers, servers, whatever, that are connected to the internet. So you can see that this, it does this hockey stick moment here in the late 90s, early 2000s. And it really has continued to go up on that hockey stick curve since then. I'm sorry, I don't know the access values on that, but it just gives you a sense of how the growth was going. It was pretty flat for a while and then grew pretty dramatically. And then I called out a few milestones in history that were happening. So there's a book called The Machine That Changed the World. Highly recommend reading that. I'll talk about it later in this. The first Scrum project was done in 2003 at a company called Easel by Ken Schwaber and Jeff Sutherland. They co-developed the Scrum process in 2003. So it's been around for a long time. People think about, Scrum being something relatively new or within the past 10 years. It's really been around since the early 90s, not even the late 90s. A book called Lean Thinking was introduced in 1996. And then right there, you'll see in September 98, Google was founded. Now imagine the number of hosts that were out there when Google was founded and how that hockey stick has just gone up since then. It's remarkable how the growth that's happened. So if you're looking at the timeline here, you're noticing this, it's hard to avoid the big peak that's right there. And the loud popping sound that happened on March 10th of 2000. Yeah, that was the internet or .com bubble, we called it, and that was the pop of the bubble. A really interesting piece of history to note is the thing called the Agile Manifesto that we go over in a different section. It's just dedicated to the manifesto. That was written right here in February of 2001. Now you can imagine yourself being a software developer, one of the people who wrote the Agile Manifesto, and in this time frame, you've received money from a venture capitalist, and that venture capitalist is coming to you after this big popping sound he heard or she heard, and they're saying, "Hey, I want to get my money back. I need some return on that value that money I provided you." Yeah, this whole new economy. Remember that the rules of the economy have changed. Yeah, the rules never changed, but that was what we were being sold there in the .com bubble, and that's what made it bubbly. They were saying, the rules have changed. We don't need to be showing any profit. We can just get greater and greater and greater revenue. Eventually, the profit will come. Well, not if you're spending at the same rate that you're receiving. If your expenses exceed your revenues, well, you are underwater by any definition. It doesn't matter what you believe the economy is changed to. So here we are, and it's popped, and I'm the venture capitalist going, "Give me my money back," and the software developers are going, "We need to figure this out. We need to figure out how to do more with less because we have less. We need to figure out how to delight our customers because we're obviously not converting them, so we need to figure out how to convert customers quickly and learn from this." And so they looked to something that had been around for quite a long time. Really, the people count the beginning of the lean movement to be around the 30s, but if you go to lean.org, and check out they have a great timeline, a graphical, uh, interactive timeline of the history of lean. They trace it all the way back to the 1900s, and which is interesting. But I would say before the 1930s, those were things that were influencing the lean movement. They weren't necessarily things that were lean. Just like you could say lean, you could say that lean, that Agile traces its roots back to the 1930s, right? Because those things in lean were traced into what became Agile. And no, right? So same thing here. Um, great history. Go check out that website. Really, the interesting thing to note here is a couple of different things. Um, just in time, JIT was developed by Kiichiro Toyoda in 1930s. That concept is heavily used within the Agile movement. If you think about the use of story cards, that's probably the most obvious use of just in time, right? We don't want to elaborate the requirements out in detail until we actually need them. So I write down a couple of notes on what we call a story card, and we keep those notes so that we remember, but we do the elaboration just in time, right before we implement. Then we have the most information about the real context. Maybe your customers' needs have changed during that time. Maybe technologies have changed. Maybe architectures have changed. Maybe what you built has changed, right? So we want to just in time create that. The other thing is Taiichi Ohno in the 1950s developed the Kanban system. So a lot of people consider the Kanban to have been created in the 2000s, actually, the mid teens or the early teens, 2000s. And it didn't. It was created in the 50s. It was adapted and adopted by the Agile community to create the Kanban approach to software development. But Kanban's been around for a long time. All right, that's enough on those things. We'll move on here. So the idea in Lean is there's really three concepts. Two of them are here: elimination of waste and continuous improvement. Right? These are the activities that we are doing. We're constantly eliminating waste and constantly continuing to improve the way we work. The third aspect of it, or a third element in it, is the idea that we want to be delighting our customers. Right? Relentless focus on delivering value to our customers, which is, if you were to draw a picture of it, that would be the goal, is to deliver value to your customers quickly. All right. So the core idea in Lean, this is from lean.org. The core idea of Lean is to maximize customer value while minimizing waste. It simply means creating more value for customers with fewer resources. Now, if you were that software developer and you read that, you'd be like, yes, that's what I need to do because I have fewer resources now. And we need to be finding a way to deliver value to our customers quickly. Three great books on this. One is The Toyota Way by Jeff Liker. Jeff also wrote the foreword to my book, Being Agile in a Waterfall World. So check out that one as well. But as far as learning about Lean, The Toyota Way is fantastic. It's a great, very readable introduction to Lean concepts within the context of Toyota, where they were originally developed. Here's that book, The Machine That Changed the World by James Womack. I believe that's where the word lean was first coined. And then Lean Thinking it's a great, again, introduction to lean from a more, I don't want to say academic perspective, but it's less contextualized than the Toyota Way. He uses some examples. The Toyota Way uses Lean Thinking uses theoretical examples, where Toyota Way uses Toyota as here's what it is. Great books, all three of them. Highly recommend reading all three of them to understand Lean. At least read The Toyota Way and Lean Thinking. Machine That Changed the World is, I believe, interesting from a historical perspective, but it's not as critical to understanding Lean Thinking. Lean. All right. So with that, we will bid you adieu. See you in another video. Thanks. Bye-bye.